Hi, I'm Alejandra Moreno.
And I'm Taylor Kaufman.
Today we're going to start our RIP series, and we're going to talk a little bit about estate planning clients, kind of the don't be that client. You know, this is please funny to us, you know, and we sometimes, you know, talk about it and maybe vent a little bit about it, but this is for you. Don't be that client, right?
Yeah.
Because we need certain things, right? We have the knowledge, but we need certain information to be able to recommend what's right for you. Mm-hmm. And if you're coming to us, it's because we have the knowledge, we have the experience. So take what we're telling you.
Right. And what we're asking you too. Like, we're not trying to be nosy. We're really just trying to make the right estate plan for you.
I'm guessing that's kind of like how doctors feel when they're diagnosing somebody and somebody's like, oh, but, you know, Google said, it's like, well, Google's not your treating physician, right? That's kind of how we feel sometimes. And Google Wills will definitely be an RIP series, but today we're going to talk about estate planning clients and the things that, you know, just don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it. So I think one of my first ones is when we set up an initial call, you know, we'll ask for, you know, what time do you, or an initial meeting, and we'll say, do you have an estate plan? And they'll say no. And then we run through, you know, half of the consultation. We've been on the phone or in person for 30 minutes. And they're like, oh, but I already have that in my estate plan.
Yeah.
So why'd you say no?
Like, what do you mean? Yeah, what estate plan?
We just wasted a bunch of time, you know, starting from zero when, you know, maybe you have something we can work with or, you know, that, or you know, they say they have an estate plan, they don't give it to us ahead of time. And then, you know, we're there going through a 40-page trust while the client is waiting. I'm like, no, we asked you so that we can review it and be ready for you, right? So that's probably one of my first pet peeves when it comes to estate planning clients. Yeah. How about you?
Especially reviewing documents on the fly like that. I mean, we need time. We have to reschedule the consultation. It's important.
Right. So. And you don't want to do these things on the fly because you want to make sure that, you know, I know how to read this document, but if you're putting me under the gun, I got to do it in 10 seconds. Like, what if I miss something? You know, and they're like, that's not what it says. Or maybe it really isn't what it says. But, you know, we are trying to prepare so we can offer you the best level of service. So if we ask you for something, just give it to us.
And then it also kind of like, you know, you're doubting everything on the questionnaire. Like, you have to second ask them again. Like, are you sure? There's nothing else out there. But yeah, that's a bad one. I haven't had that happen yet. Hopefully it doesn't. But I've had a client, you know, present a questionnaire. I'm preparing the documents, you know, we're going over distributions, and I'm, you know, when they come in to sign, after we've already reviewed the documents together, pointing out this is where it says, you know, you're not married. They weren't married on the questionnaire, and they actually were married, you know, but they kind of separated. So they thought that they were no longer married, but they were still legally married in Florida. And, you know, he just put down that he was not married. And that's a big one because not only do we obviously have to go back and redo the documents, but it's important to give us that information, even if you don't think you're married and you are still legally married. Like, that's important on the questionnaire because obviously there's different, you know, language that needs to be included in the estate planning documents. But after that happened, we went through his whole questionnaire again, just to make sure that we are both understanding the questions and answers correctly. So, you know, give me a long explanation, like, yes, we are married, but I no longer consider her my spouse or whatever it is, so I can have all the information I need because,
That I haven't, but I have had people, like, call each other, my husband, my wife, and when I find out they're not legally married, they've just been living together for 40 years, but they're not legally married. They're like, oh, but after a certain amount of time, aren't you legally married?
Not in
Florida.
Yeah.
So you're not married.
Yeah.
We can still structure the document so you benefit each other. That's fine, but you're not married, you know? And you know, that one
that's tough.
And the reason why that one got me is because I had a probate years ago, and it was this lady, there was no will. Her and her husband had been living together for 50 years. They lived together their whole life, basically. And she was in her 80s, and he passed away. And literally, his kids came in, took out all her stuff, changed the lock. And an 80-year-old woman was like, I don't have any money. Everything was in his name. I don't have anything. I have all of my stuff in a U-Haul. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do at 80.
Yeah.
Well, she's like, but after a certain amount of time, weren't we just like married? No, you were not. So after that experience, and that broke my heart. After that experience, I was like, you need to triple check you're legally married, like you have a valid marriage license.
Right. Yeah.
That was, oh man.
Or just make sure you're providing all that information to your attorney. Like, it's better to overshare than to undershare, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, building on that, clients that don't want to fill out the questionnaire. Like you said, I think some of them think we're being nosy or we're just being annoying. And it's like, no, but this is going to help you. It's going to help us, make a recommendation. But if you, for example, are a candidate for a trust and we recommend a trust and you want a trust, but you don't transfer anything to your trust, you don't tell us what you have so we can instruct you on how to do it, you're going to probate anyway.
Right.
And you paid for a trust and now you're going to probate. So, oh man.
Yeah. So definitely overshare. That's a key takeaway from this. And, give us that little story. If you think you are married, you're not sure, like just write another sentence or pick up the phone and just tell us, because we're not going to know, obviously.
I think another one, and I understand since the pandemic, we became very used to Zoom and phone calls and people don't want to go to their attorney anymore. That's fine. I totally get it. And I don't mind an initial call to be over the phone because it's, just a quick overview of the process. We got to get your questionnaire done, all that stuff. I don't mind that. But we do have clients that, set up an appointment, we block off our time, and then they're like driving around in the car. And I'm asking them questions, or they're like, man, but I really want to write this down. I'm like, like sometimes people don't take it very seriously, or we'll call and they'll say, I'm actually at work. I can't talk right now. I'm like, yeah, but we're a small business and we blocked off our calendar, like that space that I could have offered to another client, that might have a pressing matter, but I blocked it off for you and you kind of blew it off.
Right.
So, not to be too serious, but those things like,
yeah. And you're also, it's a waste of their time as well, because if we're not able to get their full attention and everything, then we're gonna have to set up another call and it just prolongs the whole process. So
and I'd say 95% of our clients get a free initial consultation. But there are clients that have canceled 4 times and I'm like, look, now you gotta pay to get on my calendar. But I thought it was a free initial consultation. I'm like, yeah, you burned that.
Yeah.
You burned that like 3 cancellations ago. Exactly. Come on. Like we're trying to inform our clients. We're trying to give them a nice level of service. We're trying to make this process easy for them, but like, don't make it hard on us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to help you here. So I think that is the message here is don't be that client. Don't be that client, give your attorney what they need. Make sure that, you're following that attorney's process. Don't be your own roadblock, because at the end of the day, these are your documents, and whatever that attorney's experience is, they're asking for something because there's a reason for it. Trust me, I don't need to know all of this information for fun. Like, I don't want to keep this information for fun. It's because that's what's going to help us give you what you need, right? Yeah. So that was our little venting session. That's what the RIP series is all about, right?
Episode. I think we kept it.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. The Wake is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. The discussions in this podcast are meant to bring awareness to important issues, but they should not be considered a substitute for professional legal guidance. If you need legal advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult a qualified attorney.